Welcome to Female Finance Collective, where we encourage women to have open and honest conversations about all things money. And in this episode, we're not going to encourage conversations about the topic for today, but we want to just kind of get you thinking about it and share some of our experiences. So today we're going to talk about the worst financial advice we've ever received. And maybe while you're listening, you're thinking to yourself, oh, I have some worst advice that I got. And you can think about yours while we share ours with you. So, Sybil, do you want to dive in and share the worst financial advice you think you've ever gotten?
For sure. So mine is more of a kind of advice, broad advice, what people were sharing with me, not just like one person, but like the world or our society and people close to me. So I have been a third generation teacher. My grandma was a teacher, my mom was a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher. I was in school in Boulder to be a teacher. And it was like I was being screamed at left and right, like, you're not going to make any money as a teacher. They're treated so poorly, da da da, don't go into teaching. Everybody was telling me that I wasn't worthy of money, basically. If I was going to be a teacher, that's because I want to serve, the future and da da da, but I was not worthy of money because of the career choice I was making. Um, and that's just terrible because I'm sorry, but teachers are worthy of money. Teachers are human beings first. Teachers should be, in my opinion, making more money than other people. And there are many good paying teaching jobs. There are ways to make more money as a teacher, especially in today's online economy and becoming an expert and speaking at conferences. And I am worthy of money, and we just need to change that. Society should not be telling us that if you choose X job, you will not make money and therefore you are not worthy of money, because that was the underlining message. Not just that I'm not going to make money, but that I'm not worthy of money because of what I'm choosing to go into. And I had no idea that that was happening, but that was happening psychologically. I did not feel like I deserved money because I chose teaching. And there's nothing correct about that. And so that's the absolute worst like advice or thing that I've ever heard and had to overcome. And it's literally having to overcome it all the time and learn that I am worthy and don't listen to those people. We need teachers more today than ever before. And I want to say to you, teachers, don't listen to this. You are worthy. You can build wealth as a teacher. There's pensions. There's all kinds of, scholarships and offers and things you can do outside of, your 9 to 5, but we need you, and don't listen to that advice. That's what I have to say.
I think also I was a teacher and I heard the same thing over and over. So if you're somebody who has ever said to a teacher, "Oh, you're not going to make any money in that job. Can you please stop
Right.
saying that?" Because that's not a message that we want to send to anybody regardless of what their job is, right? And the other thing I want to say is I think that knowing I was going to have a small income was also right, that was planted in my brain, and then that contributed to my negative self-talk about how I'm always going to be in debt. I'll never be good with money because, well, I'm a teacher and I'll never make good money and I'll never, right? It was just kind of like it just kept that cycle going for me. I mean, maybe not for everybody, but it's not a good message to send to anyone, no matter what their career is, no matter what they chose. We don't want to lead with that. How about, great, I hope you really love teaching, or I hope you really love whatever it is you're going to. I hope you love working in nonprofit. That's so great. Not, oh, you're never going to make any money in that, right? That's not the kind of message we want to send anybody, no matter what. So, all right, Meri-Li, what's your worst advice you ever received?
The worst advice I ever received is that you have to pay off all your debt before you start investing. And it was a general theme that I kind of just came from my background. So I'm from a Scandinavian country. People are pretty conservative. Not a lot of people invest and definitely don't want to have a lot of debt. So it was kind of the messaging that I'd always, get from my mom. I'd share how much debt I had, and she was pretty mortified. And it would always be that, oh gosh, you have to pay that off ASAP. And, you can't spend anything, like get that debt paid off, and certainly don't invest in anything. And that did hold me back for a bit. So, I always did the retirement savings that was matched by my company, but I did defer saving more and investing because I was so focused on the debt. So I'd say that was probably the worst advice that I ever received. And it held me back for a bit. And it took a bit of a mindset shift to be okay with the debt I had. And that wasn't high interest debt. It was just, mortgage and a bit of student loan. But yeah, that was kind of one of the worst pieces.
Yeah, I think that's really challenging because I understand like some element of that mindset of like, oh, I should get this debt paid off first and then I can put the money towards. But this is as true with so many things in life, right? It's about balance. So maybe you're not investing as much as you would if your debt was paid off, but it doesn't mean that you can't invest at all, right? And we all know the sooner you start, the better off you're going to be. And we also know that every dollar matters. So I think that I understand why people might give that advice, but I agree with you that it's not going to benefit you in the long term, right? To avoid investing, especially it's just just having a moment where I'm thinking about how you said it was like your mortgage and student loans, because that's the kind of debt most of us are always going to have a mortgage, right? Most people don't pay off their home and then live debt free. So if we wait to invest until that's paid off, well, then we're really going to be, in a little bit more of a challenging spot.
Well, and this is what's happening is, people are buying their homes later in life. They have longer term mortgages. So if you're waiting to fully pay off your mortgage, you're going to be in your 60s. It's pretty hard to put together a retirement when you've got a short time frame. And for a lot of people, that balanced approach is really best. And it's one of those things that we all have to kind of navigate the finances and the money that we have available. And often just putting a little bit into different areas is really helpful. So if you've got extra money, maybe use some of it to pay down debt, mortgages or things like that, and use some of it to invest. So just balance. Balance is really helpful.
Yeah, and just I'm trying to and am learning a lot more about like the role of cash flow in those decisions, right? And how to make my decision based on how much money I need each month in my hands to pay my bills, to pay my mortgage, to invest, and really try to balance that out, so you can live a comfortable, happy life that you don't want to give up everything for the
Yeah.
future, right? We talk about that a lot here on the Female Finance Collective podcast, is that um, let's figure out how to live happily now and in the future, right? And it's these kinds of decisions of investing some into your debt, investing some into your future. Um, when we were investing in index funds, when our salaries were at their highest, we were also paying down some of our mortgage on our short-term rental, and we did that intentionally to make the profits on that business happen faster, right? And so we were doing both. While the stock market and index funds were making an average of 8 to 10%, or even higher, paying down a mortgage that was only 4.5% to a lot of people didn't make sense. But to us, we balanced it. We paid into both for numerous years. We're not anymore. We're changing it. Like we talked about in the last episode, I think, Meri-Li, you really talked about how our money decisions change over time, depending on our goals and our seasons of life. But I'm so grateful we did that, because now our mortgage, we were able to refinance to 2.89 when the rates were really low a few years back. And it's super, super low because we paid it down some and because we were able to refinance and we built the money, over in the stock market. And so that balance is so crucial. But I agree with you. Like, it's not great advice to pay off a mortgage and then start investing for your retirement because you're not going to have many years to invest, sadly.
All right, so let me share my worst advice. And it's not really advice, but I think you guys will understand what I'm saying. So in college, they would set up their little card tables on the corner and encourage all of us to apply for credit cards. And I applied for one because I was working in college, but I was paying for it myself. I was not getting like money in my account from my mom every month. Like I was having to figure out how to make it work. And I thought, well, that credit card is really going to help me. But the thing is, I did not know how credit cards worked. I did not understand the interest and how that was going to like compound and like become this behemoth that I could not pay off. And even though my available credit was really small when it started, I think it was like $500, I did not take into account that I was now going to make my monthly budget even tighter because now I was adding a credit card payment into my monthly budget. And the reason I'm calling this bad advice is because I think that those companies prey on young people who don't know how credit cards work and who don't understand that they're going to get themselves into a really tricky situation that they're not going to be able to afford to get themselves out of. And I feel like all credit cards should come with like a little class where they teach you how they work so that you really are going in eyes wide open so you understand what you're signing yourself up for. And so that is like the worst. It's not only I would actually call it like my biggest financial regret because it kind of started me on a path that that got me that was what was hard to dig myself out, right? It got me in this big hole. But I just think it's like the advice that people say, "Oh, just get a credit card." If you don't really understand how they work, it is a really tough situation.
Well, it's very easy when you're younger. You get that credit card and it's so easy to buy stuff. And you're right. Like you're not taught when you have to make the payment, how many days it takes to process the payment through your bank account. All of those things are not taught. And even just looking at your transactions, like just seeing, are you paying interest? What is the rate? What does the rate mean? So if you've got a credit card at 22%, how long is it going to take you to pay that off? It's a very long time. So yeah, that's great. Great bad advice. Thank you, Sharon.
We need to make a course. The Female Finance Collective needs to make a course or a module in our membership or something for young people, right? Because that's what happens. My daughter is a freshman in college, and guess what's coming to our home? Credit card, signups. And even she was talking to her the first couple days there, and she's like, everyone's signing up for the CU Buffs credit card because you get $100, right? I know there's more laws in place around that than like when we were that age, but we probably got incredible bonuses. It's like the Happy Meal with the toy in it, right? Like they're not they're not only not giving you financial advice, they're giving you free money to sign up for that credit card, right? But it's so crucial for our young people to understand credit cards. Oh my gosh, like they tap with their phones now. They don't even have to pull the thing out. Cash is like a thing of the past, right? We're using Cash Apps. They're using Venmo. They're using like all those Cash Apps. They're using their tap pay credit card or even on their watch, right? Saw a young gal with her watch the other day, like, oh my God, that is way too easy to pay for. So yeah, I mean, signing up for those. And I'm actually working with my daughter to teach her how to open one and how to use it well. But without that, that's a really bad scenario that frankly shouldn't be legal. Like that's terrible. They, like you said, they should have to have financial advice or education with it. because yeah, here's $100. I just got to college. I'm super poor. Sign me up, right? And not understanding that 25, 20, 30% interest, that's compounds. Every time you don't pay it, you pay more of it, every month. Um, yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm proud of you, Jen, for overcoming that. Nice work and helping others overcome that too, because that's tough. Deep breaths.
Yeah. And credit cards aren't bad. I mean, it's how you build credit.
Yep.
But when you don't have the knowledge on how to use them properly, then it's pretty bad advice to just collect them. I remember having several when I was back in school. And, things like a credit card for like the hardware store. Like I wasn't buying anything at the hardware store, but I just took them all. So definitely was a learning experience to stop doing that kind of stuff.
For sure. Well, we'd love to hear from you if you would like to share your worst advice, the worst advice you've ever received. Um, I mean, maybe we can just add it to the list. We could do another episode and be like, hey, if anybody tells you this, we're here to tell you that's bad advice. And we can share it from our perspective and also from your perspective. We would love to hear from you. So be sure to like and follow our podcast so that you don't miss any episodes. And again, send us a message or drop us a comment on Instagram or YouTube. We would really love to hear from you. And we hope nobody gives you any bad financial advice today.